What's up, guys? This is TheKephas. I've actually been having a lot of fun playing Dragonflight pre-patch, and when I say I've been having a lot of fun, what I mostly mean is that I've been spending all of my time looking at talent trees. I love these new talent trees. They've been really cool to just look through them and try out different builds, or at least, plan out what builds I'd like to use. There are so many classes in this game, and if you guys know me, then you know that I play everything, right? And I like to make guides for every class and every spec, specifically tanks and DPS, because I can't heal. But yeah, so I plan to do that in Dragonflight. I plan to get full-blown back into WoW. I'm really excited for this expansion, and I would like to get back into the swing of making guides again, and what's cool is with this new talent tree system, I can actually share my personal talent build and put that in the macro portion where it says talents, and then that way you guys, if you use my macros and you want to have my specific talent tree, you have that option. So that's pretty cool because I will be building out macros based on my talent tree. And that does bring me to an interesting topic of discussion, though. And it's actually one that I've been wanting to have for a little while now. I've been sort of pondering over this, idea for a while. If you guys know, my philosophy, if you've watched my guides before, I get a lot of people asking, what talents do you use? What are your builds? What's the easiest class? What's the best class? Will this max out my DPS? Min-maxing. You guys know that I tend to take a sort of, I tend to step away from the topic of min-maxing a lot, and I always, leave a disclaimer with my guides and, with my videos, these are for beginners. These are not for min. These macros are not going to get you to min-max. They're just going to make the thing easier for you to play, right? That's kind of my philosophy. And the reason why I have that philosophy is a couple of things. For one, if you're using a mod like Gnome Sequencer and you're trying to make out macros, your main goal is to make the game a little bit easier or perhaps more accessible. There are a lot of people out there that maybe you have a hard time keeping track of so many buttons because you have bad vision like me. It's hard to keep track of cooldowns. Maybe you only have the use of so many fingers or one hand, and so it's easier to consolidate as much as you can on fewer and fewer buttons, ideally on one button, and that's exactly what Gnome Sequencer is for. So the main thing that I focus on is making the game easier for you to play. When we get into topics of like hardcore end-game content, I kind of leave that to you to sort of figure out, and sometimes you can actually get by with a I suppose, non-meta play style, right? There's a lot of people that play WoW that are very meta focused, and I guess you could say they're elitist, but I don't want to come across as being negative to people that think that way, so I don't want to use that word, though that is the word that I would probably use. Is there are people that are very elitist minded when it comes to playing this game. It's interesting too, playing World of Warcraft, there's been this saying that people will optimize the fun out of the game, right? And I guess that's what I want to talk about, is why do I personally avoid min-maxing, okay? And I think that a lot of it is because of that right there, is because min-maxing for me isn't always the fun option, okay? And so when I look at this talent tree, now this build that I have right here actually exists because I accidentally clicked on the starter build. If you go down here and you click on this little button here, you can actually make a bunch of different builds, which is really cool. So that way, if you want to make your own build, you can then make a new build and use my build when you're using my macros if you want, and then go back to your build if you're like, TheKephas, your build sucks, my build's better, I want to stick with mine, thanks. Okay, so you can do that. But what I accidentally did is I clicked on starter build. So I had built out my own personal goofy, probably not as good build, and then I accidentally clicked on the starter build, and this is what I got. And so I can already tell you there are things in this build that I don't like personally. I don't know if it's the best. I really don't know what the best is. I know a couple of things, and we're going to talk about it. But for example, I don't like execution sentence. And the reason why is I don't like to have multiple abilities that use holy power. So unless it's like, Divine Storm for AoE and Templar's Verdict for single target, like if there's an ability that will replace those, that's fine. But I don't like to worry about multiple abilities managing, spending, my my points on multiple abilities, unless it's like specifically different situations. And this is one of those things where it's like you use this, it's on cooldown, then you use the other one. When this one's off cooldown, you use it again. I don't like to have too many plates spinning. I like to keep things very simple, right? So I don't like execution sentence, and I never really have. And there's a couple of other abilities like that, so I would probably not use this, even if this was meta, right? I probably wouldn't use it because that's too much for my little brain to handle, okay? I'm a scrub, whatever, I don't care. It's just not how I want to play the class. And Paladin's kind of a awful, like, it's not the best representation of the talent trees. There are much better talent trees out there. Paladin's kind of one of the worst, but it does provide some good examples. Now, what I do believe is meta, what I've seen a lot of people talking about, are these two talents over here. At least for Ret Paladin. I don't know about other Paladins. I don't even know if this is meta, but I've seen this discussed a lot on different sites and recommended. And so this is of Dusk and Dawn, and it's actually a really cool mechanic, okay? And it actually follows up. You can improve it with this one too, Seal of Order, but we're going to focus on this one. So what this does is it gives you 2 blessings. When you have 5 holy power, you will gain this, I believe it's Blessing of Dawn, and when you have 0 holy power, you will get Blessing of Dusk, and it does what these say here. You can read, and if you go down here, you can add more functionality to both Blessing of Dawn and Blessing of Dusk. So this is cool because now you get like a little bit more of a mechanic in with your holy power abilities. The problem though is that functionally the way it works then is you want to specifically max out your holy power and then get rid of it, right? So before you spend holy power, you want to get 5 every time. So that way you're keeping up on your Blessing of Dawn. And then of course, Blessing of Dusk, it's not as important as Blessing of Dawn, but it's still, you get rid of your holy power, that kind of thing. So you're kind of flipping back and forth between maxing out your holy power, getting rid of it all, maxing it out, getting rid of it all. And so what that does is like, it creates a situation where you're just like, okay, I'm having to keep a lot more track on what abilities I'm using. You don't ever want to overcap your holy power. You don't want to waste anything. So if you've got like a talent that makes it so that Blade of Justice gives you 2 holy power instead of 1, then you got to keep track of that. There are Wake of Ashes, which gives 3, and so now you've complicated it. And for a lot of people, that complication is great. That's what they want, which is fine, right? I mean, that's good. That's good that you can sort of make it more complex and probably more rewarding as a result. I think that's awesome. But I don't like to make things too complex. That's not how I like to play, because it's difficult for me to try to keep track of all that because of my disability, right? And also because the more I'm trying to focus on that, again, mostly because of my disability, I'm focusing less on the actual encounters and what's actually happening, because I'm just spinning my wheels so hard at these things. And I know for some people, like, these might be easy. That's fine. You're smarter than me. That's totally fine. And I'm sure in time maybe you get the hang of it. But again, with me, I don't play this game at the highest level. I just play for fun. So that's an example right there, like why I don't like to min-max, because I don't really like the play style that this brings. I think this is an interesting mechanic, but essentially what it does to me is it makes Ret Paladins feel even more like rogues, right? Where you can spend as many combo points as you want, but you basically always want to spend them at 5, right? That's how you want to do it. So this is more similar to that. And actually, that's one of the things I don't like about Ret Paladins, is they do feel a lot like rogues. I've never really been a big fan of the holy power system. Actually, going back and playing Wrath Classic, where obviously rotations are a lot simpler, I prefer that, because it's more just like, here, whack-a-mole, use these on cooldown, it's simple. This is more like a rogue. It's not the worst thing ever, and for the most part, it's been pretty easy. But yeah, so there's an example of like why I personally don't like the min-max, because sometimes I'll look at what the min-max is and I'll be like, does this seem fun? Yes, okay, I might go with this. But I think the worst thing about it is like, they're already like out there. You can go like Wowhead, you can look up class guides, you can see talents they already have for you to copy their recommendation in. And that's something else too, is another big reason why I don't like to give people like, here's the talents I use, here's what talents I think you should use, here's what talents this website says you should use. Because for me, that goes against what I think is fun for the game. And, I remember back when talent trees existed, and then they switched over to the talent system that was around for so long before this one, where it was more like Diablo, right? Where you could just kind of switch between 3 choices at different tiers, that tiered system. I applauded that when it first came out, because I said back then, when I was, different and minded, it's good because, no one cares anyways, because everybody just went with the cookie cutter builds that elitist jerks gave, right? Well, that's sort of true, and that might end up being true here too, for a lot of people, because people like to min-max. People want to play at the cutting edge. They want to do the hardest content. They want to put out the most value for their team. Those are all very valid reasons to want to do that, right? But on the other hand, I think it takes away a lot from the game to sit there, look through these yourself, see what they all do, and say, you know what, I'm picking this one, not because it's the best, not because the world first people said it's the best, because it looks fun to me. And when you play the game that way, when I play the game that way, and I've done it in Classic as well, in Wrath, I have more fun when it's my build. Why am I playing a blood DPS in Wrath? Because it's fun. I don't care that it doesn't do as much DPS as other builds. It's fun. I enjoy it, right? And that, at the end of the day, that's what matters to me. And you can find people out there that will let you raid with them with whatever build you want to, because they have the same mindset. Now, if you join a raiding guild and they're like, we're taking this to the max, we're going cutting edge, we want min-maxing, you should min-max. But there are people out there that will play with you that they don't care. Play whatever you want to play, as long as you're not like absolutely tanking the raid, right? Like where you literally can't, this build is such garbage that you literally can't, you cannot beat this, right? Then maybe people might care a little bit. You probably should care a little bit, but for the most part, you can get by. In my experience, you can get by with whatever you want to do. And for me, that's more fun. I would look for people that are of similar mindsets. I would play with them, or I probably would just pick a different class that maybe is more fun in the meta if I absolutely had to. If I wanted to go hard, I would probably just pick a class that I really enjoyed playing at that time. But in my experience, and this is not just with WoW, this is with a lot of games, I don't chase the meta. When I play Overwatch, I don't play the meta. When I play Elden Ring, I didn't run Reign of Blood, or Moonveil. I ran Colossus, Colossal Crusher, and Strength Faith. I which wasn't bad, but it wasn't meta. Because it was more fun. And so that's kind of how I play here. So there might be people who say, "Oh, I wouldn't play with you. You play with the controller. You use macros. You use a crappy build." And that's fine. I wouldn't play with you either because I'm not a tryhard. You know what I mean? So that's one of those things where people have different mindsets. And I think that the right way to approach different people is with understanding and respect. People aren't jerks for being min-max minded, okay? And for wanting to play with other people who are also min-max minded. But people aren't wrong either if they don't enjoy that and they play for fun. Now, I think where you do come into a problem is like when you're doing lower tier content, pugging, random groups, that kind of stuff, and you project your needless elitism on simpler content that doesn't require it. If the content doesn't require it, then you should tether your expectations for how fast you get through that content, because you are choosing to play with everyone, and that means sometimes you're not always going to get people that think like you. So when tanks aren't going as fast as you think they should, or they're not going wall to wall because you think they should, or they're not healing as efficiently as you think they should, and you're being kind of a dick about it, that's a you problem. Find your own group, be more selective, and if you can't be selective, be more open, because you're choosing to open up to the public pool, so to speak, if that makes sense. So that's my only thing I would say about that. But in general, that's why I don't personally min-max. And I think there are people that will see this and hear my opinion and think whatever they want to think. I think a lot of people will agree. But my days of like, doing three raids a week. There was a time in Wrath when I was raiding a 10-man, a 25-man, and a 25-man on a second character. And I was tanking, and I was DPSing, and I was doing old raids. I used to play this game a lot, right? And I didn't even then I wasn't like top line hardcore, whatever. But I played a lot more. Those days are behind me. Okay, I don't want to play like that anymore. I don't enjoy playing like that anymore. So I won't be min-maxing, right? Unless I enjoy what the min-max is. And I think I will enjoy the game more for it. So when you get my guides, if you watch my videos and you watch my guides, don't look for min-maxing here. You won't find it. What you will find is a simplified experience, or something for a beginner, or whatever, or something to get you started and then you go from there. It's not to carry you through the game. That's never been my goal. My goal has been to help people who are having a harder time. So that's what I have to say. I think that in an open world RPG, there's room for people to play however they wish. And there are plenty of people out there to play with, that not everybody has to adopt the same mindset. Okay, I've never watched a world first race. I do not care. So I wanted to just kind of share that with you guys. My opinion on min-maxing and moving forward, and especially with more complex talent trees, which I think actually make the game better. It also provides an opportunity for more options, which is good. Unfortunately, a lot of times when you have more options, you will still have the optimal option, and so that then in a lot of people's minds becomes the only option. That is, to me, is never the fun way to play for me. So anyways, I wanted to share that. Sorry if this was like a soapboxy rant or ramble, but I wanted to kind of clarify how I feel about min-maxing, why I don't do it, and what my focus on the game will be moving forward. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I would love to hear your comments below on the discussion. Keep it civil, keep it friendly, be respectful, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm looking forward to making more Dragonflight videos in the future. Really excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. Otherwise, I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is TheKephas. Until next time.